Danny Segura for MMA Junkie. I'm here with David Feldman, BKFC president. And I wanted to talk to him ahead of this giant BKFC event that they got going on December 2nd in Salt Lake City, Utah. Of course, I'm talking about BKFC 56. That's headlined by two no-names in the MMA world. We're talking about Mike Perry and Eddie Alvarez. And on top of that, David, there's a bunch of other great fights. Obviously, this is MMA Junkie. So just in the MMA side, we have Todd Duffy versus Ben Rothwell, another two veteran names of the heavyweight division. We got Beck Rawlings, former Invicta FC champion and UFC fighter, challenging for the belt against Christine Ferreira. And we got Jeremy Stevens versus Jimmy Rivera as well, duking it out. And there's other great fights on this BKFC 56 card. So I want to talk to Dave ahead of this event, and not only to discuss this great card, but other things going on in the industry as well as in the promotion. So first of all, Dave, how are you? And thank you for taking time to join us here and discuss some fights.
Of course, Danny, man. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Doing great, man. Doing great. Looking forward to this great event next Friday night. In BKFC history, most stacked card we've ever had. We're very, very anxiously awaiting December 2nd and hitting Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So that's something that I wanted to ask you. I was thinking this might be the most stacked card that BKFC has had. You guys have had other standout events. Obviously, BKFC 41 was great as well this year with Perry and Luke Rockhold and Chad Mendes and Eddie Alvarez. And you had McGregor in the crowd. A couple of Knucklemanias as well have been great. But you would say that this is the best event that the promotion has ever put together?
I think so. I mean, look, in hindsight, obviously, Conor McGregor being there and talking great about the organization, jumping into the ring, Mike Perry challenging him, awesome. Like, that was great. But I think as far as stacked event, I think we have 6 main event caliber fights on this main card. 6 fights that could be a main event for any other card we've ever done. So I think aligning all 6 of these fights together on one card makes it the most stacked card we've ever had.
Yeah. So let's start with the main event here of this card. Obviously, Mike Perry and Eddie Alvarez. Eddie is fairly new to the promotion. Mike Perry already has some experience under BKFC. So I wanted to ask you, last time he fought against Luke Rockhold, I believe his contract was up. Obviously, you guys re-signed him. That's why he's returning. But talk to me about re-signing Mike Perry and how crucial was it to keep him around? Because a lot of people are throwing around that he might be even the face at this point of BKFC. I don't know if you agree.
I mean, look, we have a few people that could be the face of BKFC, but Mike Perry certainly is one of the most recognizable guys in combat sports now. Definitely, probably in the top 10 or so person that people know in the sport of mixed martial arts or bare knuckle fighting. So, it was very, very important for us to bring that marquee fighter back to the organization. To lose a fighter like that after, I think that we gave him a rebirth and gave him, resurrected his career really coming out of the UFC and gave him an opportunity to really build into the star that he's become with the ability that he's had to fight. And, he talks a really good game as well. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. So all of that was very important to us. So we made it a priority to re-sign him, and we re-signed him to a multi-fight, multi-year deal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it just seems like he's like made for bare knuckle boxing and specifically BKFC. Would you say that he's sort of the best MMA fighter that's so far transitioned into your world?
I'll tell you on December 3rd, because he's fighting Eddie Alvarez, and Eddie Alvarez is no slouch. He's no one that anyone's going to walk over. So, I mean, that's a tough fight for him, and we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, look, he made a great transition. Like I said in one of the other interviews I did, I said, I think this sport was actually made for him. This sport is made for Mike Perry. Like, he's not the best MMA fighter in the world. He's probably not going to be the best boxer in the world, but he certainly is one of the best, if not the best, bare knuckle fighter in the world.
Yeah, for sure. And I had mentioned Luke Rockhold earlier, obviously the last opponent for Mike Perry. Wondering what's the future with him? Did you guys just sign a 1-fight deal? Does he have multiple fights with the promotion? Have you even talked to him about potentially returning? Is he done with the sport? I don't know if there's an update that you can give us on Luke Rockhold.
We have an option on a second fight with him, but we're not going to exercise it. We don't want to. I certainly don't want to, and I don't know if he wants to after getting his teeth knocked out. So it's just, look, this sport's different. It's not built for everybody, and we want someone that if he does get his tooth knocked out, for instance, Britain Hart and Beck Rawlings, two women in our organization, got their teeth knocked out and kept fighting and made it the distance. So he just doesn't have that type of it for BKFC that we needed. So we're not going to exercise our right.
Got it. So yeah, not interested in having him back in the ring.
Not really, no. I mean, look,
Yeah.
good guy, great fighter, great accolades, did so many things in MMA, a legend. I mean, awesome. Not taking anything away from his fighting ability, but I don't think he's a bare knuckle fighter.
Gotcha. And sticking with the main event here for BKFC 56, a lot of people are wondering what's on the line. Yes, amazing fight. I mean, I don't think there's anybody complaining about this matchup. But is this a title eliminator? Could the winner here potentially be end up fighting for the middleweight belt? If you can give us some insight as to what this could lead to, or maybe it's just sort of these type of super fights in the promotion.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just a super fight right now. We'll see. We'll see what happens after the fight. It really depends on the result of the fight. I would like for Mike Perry, if he won, to fight for the championship. I think he's due for that, and I think the fans in the promotion would like to see that. Eddie Alvarez, on the other hand, came up in weight for this fight, so I don't think this is a weight he wants to stick at, or maybe he does. Look, we're going to see what happens in the fight. If he's victorious and has a good victory, I'm sure he's going to want to stick around in that weight. So I can't really make any decisions or any conclusions right now, but I will right after the fight. And we're looking forward to a lot of really great things next year. We have a lot of big news popping in the next couple of weeks. Really, really tremendous stuff for BKFC and for the growth of the sport and the growth of the promotion.
Yeah, for sure. And also wanted to ask you about Conor McGregor being at the BKFC event. What was that experience for you as a promoter, having literally probably the most well-known, most famous fighter in combat sports right now? And on top of that, I also wanted to ask you about some comments that Eddie Alvarez made speaking with Morning Combat, saying that he actually believes that Conor McGregor his style is like tailor-made for bare knuckle boxing, and went down sort of the rabbit hole of explaining as to why. But I know he's tied up with the UFC, and it's probably going to be tough to see him out of that promotion. But as someone that's been promoting bare knuckle boxing and has seen a lot of fighters cross over from MMA to bare knuckle boxing, and some have failed, some have succeeded, do you feel like McGregor is one of those that could have success in your world?
I do. Look, I mean, bare knuckle fighting, people coin it as an Irish sport, right? An Irish fighting sport. And he's an Irish fighter, obviously, right? And he knows how to box. He knows how to punch. He has that kind of style. He has a little bit of a more elongated stance that fits better for bare knuckle fighting. And look, who wouldn't want to see Conor McGregor fighting bare knuckle fighting? I mean, it's as real as it gets. He was so excited about it. Forget that he made an appearance. Forget that he jumped in the ring. But everything he did to talk about the sport for weeks and weeks after the event, and still does it from time to time, I think that means that he definitely is interested in it. The fans would love to see him in it. But, he is contracted to UFC, and, that would be really a dream for us to be able to put him in there. But, you never know.
Yeah. Would you say that's like your dream fighter to be able to promote under BKFC?
I mean, I'd love to put him in with Mike Perry. I think the whole entire combat sports world would tune in for that. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great storyline, and I think it's two guys who know how to talk and know how to back it up. I think it would be tremendous. But, like I said, it's a dream fight, but, dreams do come true.
Yeah. You never know. By the way, did you speak to him about, obviously you can't talk about contract stuff regarding working together because he's under contract, but did you speak to him about the sport? Did he mention anything that maybe one day he would like to try it out if it's in the cards? Any conversations that you guys had in private that maybe we're not aware of?
He said it publicly. That this is a great game. It's something I would like to do. But like I said, he's tied up with UFC right now, obviously, right? But if he wasn't, I could absolutely see him fighting over here. He said how much he liked it. He said this is the greatest combat sport that he ever saw live. Like, he witnessed it live, and he said, I've never seen anything like this. It's unbelievably exciting. It's engaging. It's furious. It's a fan's favorite type of fight. So he just kept saying it for days and weeks past that event. So he's been great. You know, he was a great promotional tool for us, and you know, he's been really nice to us. Talked great about us. Talked great about a lot of our fighters. So you know, as long as he keeps doing that, you know, that's a great thing for us. And you know, if the UFC ever did want him to step into our ring, we'd welcome them with open arms.
Yeah, for sure. Now, sticking with BKFC 56 in the co-main event, we're going to see Ben Rothwell make his return for his third fight under the banner, taking on Todd Duffy, a guy that's been around the sport for combat sports and specifically MMA for quite some time. Contrary to the main event, Ben Rothwell has shown interest in fighting for the belt, in being champion in your promotion. And people are wondering if this is a title eliminator, given that we're also going to see the heavyweight championship fight between Adams and Terrell also on that card. Can you give us any insight as to if the winner here, specifically if it's Ben Rothwell, could be fighting for the belt next?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I would like to plan. It obviously depends. Is the Ben Rothwell Todd Duffy fight going to be exciting? I think it's got fireworks written all over it. Is Arnold Adams and Mick Terrell, is this one going to be exciting? Again, I think it has fireworks written all over it. So if those two fights pan out the way I think they're going to pan out, absolutely, you could see the winner of those two fights fighting for a heavyweight championship. Absolutely.
Got it. Cool. Awesome to know. And also wanted to ask you about other topics outside of BKFC 56 now that I have you. But before that, I wanted to ask you and give you a chance to clarify some things. We had Francis Ngannou some months back saying that, you know, he didn't have any conversations with you in regards to free agency and potentially signing with you guys. You had spoken at a press conference and said something along the lines that he might have been too expensive for you guys, or just in general, like he's sort of pricing himself out in the combat sports world. He said he never spoke to you. I don't know if you want to have some comments on that and clarify that situation on Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, absolutely, Danny. Look, I'm in a position to really grow in this company, and I'm not going to make a false statement like that. I never actually said that I spoke to Francis Ngannou. I never did. I spoke to his team, spoke to his manager, Markel, and we talked some numbers, and I just thought that it was too high for our taste buds at that time. So he's right and he's wrong. I never did speak to him exactly, you know, personally, but I spoke to his team about him fighting, and you know, they didn't transfer the message over to him. Then, you know, that's not really, you know, my problem or my business. But I'm not going to make up a story that I talked to one of the biggest stars in MMA and then get out that I didn't talk to him. That's not something that I would ever do.
Got it. Okay. Because he had also claimed that like none of his team, and maybe this is something that they didn't relate to him, but none of his team spoke to you. That's kind of where his I guess distress or issues came from. And said, you know, he said what he said.
That's completely false. I got text messages with Markel. So, you know, again, it's not something that we need to keep dragging on. But at the end of the day, is why would I make up that I talked to him and said that he's not worth it? Like, I would say, hey, from the money that he's being offered in other organizations, I don't think he's worth it. Why would I say that? Like, I had nothing to gain by saying that. So I absolutely had a conversation with him. I talked to him on the phone and I text messaged him. It's just something that didn't work out for BKFC and him to come together. And look, he just scored a hell of a moral victory, if you will, against Tyson Fury, and you know, he made the right decision. And ultimately, maybe he was worth the money, you know, but he wasn't worth the money for us at that time.
For sure. And sticking to sort of that kind of theme, I also wanted to ask you about some recent news that's huge in specifically the MMA world, but I think this stems also to the combat sports world, and specifically you, since you've worked, I don't know if maybe more than one occasion, but at least in one occasion with Bellator in terms of getting a fighter in Michael Venom Page and having him compete in your promotion while still under contract with Bellator. So it turns out PFL has finally acquired Bellator, and now they're going to be merging, keeping both brands separate, but still under one umbrella. So I just wanted to ask you your thoughts overall on this news, and how could this potentially affect BKFC, since we know that BKFC not always, but sometimes uses stars from the MMA world from various promotions to compete in the ring. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this merger, and if this affects your promotion at all in any way.
I think the merger's great for mixed martial arts. I think it's going to give some other fighters a great opportunity to make some bigger money now that they have some serious funding behind them. So I think it's great for the fighters. You know, the business move. I don't know anything about the details in it, so I couldn't comment on that. So you know, I don't want to make a comment on that because I don't want to make the wrong comment. But what's it going to do to BKFC? I don't think it's going to affect it at all. We have a great relationship with everybody. I got a great relationship with Don Davis. I had a good relationship with Bellator. I have a good relationship with the UFC. So, you know, we stay in our own lane and we don't talk bad about any other organization. And I think that's why they're willing to, you know, allow their fighters to compete in our organization. But, you know, as things open up here in the next year or so and we get this TV deal that we're working on and our very large funding comes in, I think that, you know, we're going to be in that circle as well as the competition for the biggest free agents in combat sports. And, you know, we're happy to be where we are right now. And we're happy at what the future looks like for BKFC.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's clear that you have a great relationship with many promotions. Chad Mendes, former UFC fighter, was also still under contract with the UFC and got to compete, got permission to compete in the ring. Are you hoping that's sort of the same case with PFL? I don't know if there's yet to be a crossover fighter from PFL world to the bare knuckle boxing world.
I mean, I think there could be, you know, if it makes sense, right? Like
Right.
not every fighter makes sense for us. Not every free agent makes sense for us. It's got to be the right fighter. And if it's the right fighter, like I said, I got a good relationship with all these guys because I just worry about us. And I think that if more promotions just worried about them, they'd probably grow a little faster. And that's what our goal is, to grow fast, to grow bigger. And, you know, look, take nothing away from the PFL or take nothing away from Bellator or the UFC. But we're hoping to stand on our own two legs in the next year or two, and we don't need to borrow fighters from any other promotion. We're going to create our own stars, and that's the plan. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. But in the meantime, you know, like I said, we have a great relationship with everybody, and we can continue having a great working relationship by using some of their fighters. And even if, you know, they want to use some of ours, we can do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And one more question regarding the PFL. Ben Rothwell recently spoke to MMA Junkie Radio and told us that if an offer were to come to fight Francis Ngannou in MMA over at the PFL, he would 100% take that. I know that sometimes you let fighters compete elsewhere if it's in other sport outside of bare knuckle boxing, of course. But is that something that you could potentially be interested in letting Ben Rothwell go fight Francis Ngannou if that's something that came to his table?
Oh, if a big fight like that came up, absolutely. If just a regular fight came up, there's no way in the world we would be okay with that. Unless it's got to make sense, right? Just like if they're going to lend us one of their fighters, it has to make sense for them. And I think that MVP fighting Mike Perry in bare knuckle made sense for everybody. So I think that's why they allowed it, and I think it worked. And listen, if he has a chance to fight a Francis Ngannou, absolutely. It would be life-changing for Ben Rothwell. It would be great for PFL, and it would be awesome for BKFC. So it would be great all around, a win-win-win.
Yeah, for sure. And I got one more question regarding a specific fighter, and then I want to ask you sort of about your goals now leading into 2024, since the year's almost over, and some of the things you have in store, and you kind of hinted at some things that are in the works. Can you give us an update on Paige VanZant? Last time we saw her was in 2021. She was obviously a big name that crossed over, one of the early ones into the bare knuckle boxing world. We only saw her compete twice. It seemed that she was really into it, even though the results didn't pan out for her. What's her deal? Is she done with the promotion? Could we expect her in the future?
It's funny that you asked that question. We just had a conversation with her team about 2 weeks ago on it, and they said, just give us a date. But we want at least 3 months notice because she wants to be in great shape for this one and make sure that she can concentrate on her training. So there is a very, very good probability that you're going to see Paige VanZant back with BKFC for at least one more fight.
Got it. Nice. Cool. Awesome, Dave. Also wanted to ask you right before I let you go, and it seems it's perfect timing. It seems the car has gotten to a halt here. Can you give us some insight as to what's in store for BKFC in 2024? You guys have been killing it and growing quite rapidly. You tease some things, maybe even a TV deal. What are some of the things that we can expect this year, and some of the things that you would like to see happen for BKFC this 2024?
our growth, we just actually went over our projections, Danny, for 2024, and our projections have us projecting 150% revenue growth in 2024. Just so you know, we've done about 100% growth year over year, and this one looks about 150% for us. We're going to have 3 or 4 major states open up that we didn't think were going to open as fast. They're definitely going to open up in 2024. That's going to be huge for the promotion. We're going to do shows in 7 to 9 different foreign countries around the world in 2024. And we're very, very, very close to securing a network streaming deal. One of those that there's 2 big things out there right now, and we're very, very close to securing one of those. And I think that just takes us to a whole nother level. And look, we're looking for bigger fighters. We're really doing well. We're going to launch our docuseries slash unscripted drama that's going to feature a lot of the fighters that are going to be making their way into BKFC. And we just have probably double the amount of fights that we've ever done. So it's a huge growth year for us. It's a challenging year for us. It's a challenge in the growth that we're going to have. We're bringing in a lot of new people. We're doing a lot of new things. We're going all the way around the world. We just did a fight last week in Bulgaria, 6,500 people in attendance, and everybody over there just told us that it is the biggest and the most talked about combat sporting event in the history of Bulgaria. Now, look, Bulgaria isn't the biggest country in the world, and it doesn't mean that you're taking over the world. But to do our inaugural event there and be called the biggest combat sporting event ever there, that says a lot about our international growth. And we're going to continue that international growth. We're going to continue the domestic growth. We're going to build from the ground up with our tryouts and the prospect series and the big BKFC events. And I think just all around at the end of 2024, we're going to look back and say, we just had a hell of a year.
Nice. Well, Dave, congrats on all the success that you and your team had this year. Looking forward to what's next in 2024. And just even this year, just looking forward to BKFC 56, December 2nd, a very stacked card. So thank you for taking time to speak to us, and best of luck in this upcoming event.
As always, thank you, Danny.